Welcome to Expense Update April. This has not even been a bumpy ride. This ride has been completely off the rails. My total cash count basically is 2.5 times more than it should have been. The bottom line is I spent $8,400 cash outflows. So if you hear a bit of panic in my voice, you'll understand why. The funny part is my normal expenses came in right on the target. The problem was that April decided to time travel and bring back a bunch of 2024 and 2025 bills that I was not expecting. On top of that, I got hit with something I was expecting, but it was much less than what it originally was looking at like. When my tax accountant advised me back at the beginning of April what my tax bill might look like, I'm like, this doesn't look right. Something's wrong. So I told her to look at a few things, and gratefully we were able to bring that down significantly. Otherwise, this would have been 4 times worse. Additionally, from the tax preparer, I got charged for my 2024 tax preparation because she forgot to bill me for 2024 tax preparation. So I was pretty pissed off about that. Every year we have the same issue. I follow up with her for the bill. I do not sit on bills. But I remember following up with her last year because it was quite late. She kept saying it would come. And then I just got busy with my own life. It dropped off my radar. And I saw a credit card charge come to my card last month. And I'm looking at this bill going, what on earth? And it's from the vendor caterer for my wedding last year. And it was like, hey, remember me? Initially, I thought it was fraud. I thought they were trying to double tap me for a charge, something I already paid for. So my wedding costs were completely off my radar. I pay my credit card every month. I pay the full balance. I've never carried a balance. I called the credit card company, stopped the payment, and then they said, can you follow up with the vendor? So I did. And after about 3 or 4 weeks of back and forth, this is a vendor in Thailand. I'm in Laos. The realization was it was their fault. The initial down payment of $560 that we charged to my card, their card machine accepted it, but they didn't do the closeout to actually send the transaction to the bank. They didn't do that. So 9 months later, they had another charge that was on the machine. They did it, and then my down payment to them initially went through and charged to the bank and charged to my credit card. I'm like, I didn't know that was even possible. And I had all my books, are reconciled probably because I already put that money into my credit card to make sure it's paid. So in the end, it was their fault, but I did some Google search to say, hey, this is really inconvenient, and can they do that? And it can. It's just a major inconvenience for me. The past is haunting me now in spades, even 2024. So I really got pummeled this year. Overview of my situation. Long story short, I lost my job last year. So I had less than half of a year basically to prepare for returning to Laos, and essentially I'm preparing. I thought I was going into early retirement, because there's just not very many jobs for me in this part of the world. I needed to prepare myself for potentially, for retiring on a modest budget. And I wasn't prepared for the taxes, although we were able to bring them down significantly, because the tax preparer braced for over $10,000 in taxes. I'm like, what on earth? I pay full taxes in Thailand on my employment. I don't get any tax breaks anywhere. Like some people you sometimes get when you work overseas. And I'm like, did you check this, and this? And she did. She won't say she made an error. But I wish she would just tell me what was wrong with her initial calculation. Because we were able to bring that $11,000, $12,000 tax bill down to $2,747. So that's basically capital gains. That's both federal and state tax right there. So this month felt less like budgeting and more like I got mugged by financial follies. These are exactly the kind of irregular expenses I talk about. This isn't lifestyle spending, but it is very real cash leaving my account, most of which was not planned. I am seeing my average jump significantly because of this month, and it made me nervous and actually made me a little angry. The anger basically is a reaction to being scared. I cannot continue like this. And I'll show you later at the end what my running average is so far and what my average ideal is. If a month like this becomes normal, I'm going to have to get another job. There's just no way around it. The good side of this is the market rebounded like it was a complete V recovery. I was down 14% of my total overall portfolio. Even taking out some of the funds to put in a cash reserve for my bucket one strategy, almost all the losses that I had up until March have fully recovered in April. So it's insane. This isn't about my finances this time. This is only about my monthly expenses. So I'll have an update for that, but that did make me feel a little better. I was kind of anticipating that. I do expect another market drop, significant market drop in the next couple of weeks or months. I do think the year is going to end up doing pretty well. Going into April, I was kind of looking forward to seeing a month where costs were manageable. I was not expecting this. So I'm going into May thinking I'm nervous. I can't foresee anything coming. I don't have any one-offs as far as I recall. This is something that's definitely going to be hurting me a little bit. Let's walk through my expenses for the month. So basically I have one budget. I have an annual budget, which is an annual average. And in that annual running average is all the costs, one-offs, and the running average total. And then I also have an operating budget running average, which is basically what it costs me on a monthly basis, normal costs, food, fuel, electricity, all the utilities. So you'll see that at the end, and you'll see how I'm faring to what I actually budgeted. The other thing is, so I consolidate everything into Excel, into US dollar, and because I have multiple currencies that I spend in, I have Thai baht, US dollar, Lao Kip, and often another one. So the conversion can get a little tricky. I have my own methodology, my own spreadsheet template where I do this. Most of my information is held in Quicken, and then I have to export it to Excel, consolidate for me. So what you're seeing is a consolidation based on the foreign exchange rates for 3 different currencies. So let's get into this before it gets too long. So that's a brief overview of my situation. I'm retired on a modest budget. Yeah, I've got to make this work. So I don't have $1 million. So let's look at April. The total income for the month was various interests that I earned. I think some cash back on a credit card that I used. So that was a total of $50. I got the tax hit for 2025. So this is federal taxes and state taxes. So this is mostly from capital gains that I made last year. You can't complain about paying taxes. Taxes mean you're making money. The other thing I'll note about you'll see is my budget lines are color-coded according to the type of category, expense category that they belong in. And then each line is its own individual budget line or expense line. So that makes it easier for viewing and for explaining and for analyzing. So $77 top up of our vehicle for the month. We did take a trip to deep southern part of Laos to visit my wife's family. That trip is separated into the travel category, which you will see toward the end of this video. Gas prices were very high in April, and they were about $9 a gallon for fuel. In the last day or two of the month, it came down by 25%, but all these prices that I'll show you are using a fuel price of around $9 a gallon, which is extremely expensive. I'm glad it's coming down, but I don't know how long it will last. Services and parts. This was another surprise that I'm pretty kind of pissed off about with the vehicle that we bought in January. We had to replace the brake pads. Unusual humming noise that was coming from the engine that I had the mechanic look into. I knew it was probably something loose after the car wash, and he said it's the fan. It wasn't a necessity to replace it, but I like things to run as good as they should, and so I had to replace it. So parts and labor for the vehicle was $260. I wanted a car camera, dash camera for the vehicle for our travel because people drive really stupid here, and I don't want to have any issues with insurance if we do have an accident, even in the city. I mean, you need it on the car. If you have a decent looking car, you want a camera because people just really drive ridiculous here. Fortunately, they don't drive too fast. It's just very careless. And then this was also a car wash. Another $7 for a car wash, inside and out. So this was another hit that I took. I was prepared for the 2025 tax preparation, or $280 for that. She's relatively cheap. She's not very fast, and it takes a while to get responses from her. I wanted to replace her for many years, but I'm just not in the US to find someone who's better, and she's relatively inexpensive for what she does for me. So I might even consider doing it myself this year because my taxes will be much less complicated. I don't have any income. So then she also forgot to charge me for the 2024 fee. So I got double whammy here. So this should have been, I budgeted for $280 to $50, and she ended up charging me for 2 years. I belong to 2 investing groups. I was planning on canceling this. It's a $900 a year fee. But I made enough money from this advisor last year to pay for this fee for several years. And one of the services it does provide is I have a brokerage account with a small amount of money. It's not a game-changing amount, but it's enough that it will pay bills, where I do invest in some speculative stock positions, and it's based on their research. If in one trade pay the fee, it's worth it for the year. And I did that with one position, small amount of money. It was $1,000. I doubled it within like 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, I'm going to keep this. I mean, it's paying for itself. The gains have been much more than any kind of losses I've taken with it. Anyway, I decided I'm going to do this for 1 more year. The other one I pay in December, the annual subscription. They are the reasons why I even have a chance at retiring with the little bit of money I have. I doubled my investments in the past 2 years, basically. And mostly because of these groups. Otherwise, I had no idea what I was doing before. For me, it's worth it. I'm going to do it at least 1 more year. And then if I keep making money with them, I'll probably continue, especially if I don't get any other work. It's putting me in a better financial position. This is another cost that's going to go into my annual budget average. I decided to go back to school to study Lao language. I was using private tutors before for the last couple months. It's a local language school here in Laos, this is for 3 months, 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, and $234, which includes my inscription fee, the classroom fee, and my books. This is cheaper than my tutors. I think there's advantage to my private tutors, but I decided to try this because I was kind of getting a little lazy with it and kind of getting into a rut where this does 2 things for me. The biggest issue I had with this was it takes my morning now. So I have to get up and go be at the school by 9 o'clock for class to start, and I'm there all morning. And I'm the type of person, I like routine and I like to be pushed. So the other advantage to this is, it's giving me a little more foundational understanding of the Lao language, a little more of the grammar, and I like that. But it's also pushing me into a forced to speak Lao with the whole class is Korean, and it's forcing me to interact. It's a small class of 12 of us, so it kind of went against my lifestyle change that I really liked in my mornings, but I was starting to get a little lazy in the morning. I didn't like that. So the subscription was my Google. I pay for Google Premium. This movies and entertainment, $5. This is the Netflix. So moving on, bank fees for this month were $11. Coffee and tea was $25. I normally budgeted $60. but I realized partially that was partly because of the type of coffee I was buying. I'm gonna try a month or two with cheaper coffees. The coffee is just as good. It's local made coffee, and if I can keep this cost down, I'm gonna try and cut where I can. So groceries, special foods, and restaurants, I could lump these together in my annual budgeting. I do break them out to see how we're spending money in these specific categories. Budgeted for $1,500 a month. The total of this is down to $1,100, the total of these three. But partly is because we were away for 2 weeks, and you'll see that food cost in my travel costs, because I did have to pay for some food when we were with my wife's family in the South. So I separated that out. I budget my travel part of the annual budget, not as the specific monthly operational budget. So groceries were $1,000. I still think this is relatively high for us. Special food, mostly my specific foods, which I imported steaks and meats because you can't really get good quality red meat here. And this can be some yogurt. So this is down from the previous month. Restaurants were $23. We only eat out maybe once or twice a month, if that. Yeah, we were only at church last month, so our contribution to the charity was $18. Family, this was another one-off expense that we had. So last month was Lao New Year, the biggest holiday of the year. And when we got down there, the family had this tiny little refrigerator. I mean, it was ridiculous for 6 people living in the house, and it is packed. And we came with some things that needed to go in the refrigerator. I would like to get something for the family for New Year's. Can I buy you a refrigerator? Oh, they'll take anything I ask. But I mean, it was ridiculous what they were using. It's like half of a refrigerator you would have in the US. Just packed. So we walked down the street, and when there's only like 2 or 3 vendors down the street, and we walked in, and I had the sister-in-law pick out the one she wanted. And she picked out one similar to what they have. But don't you want something bigger and like a better brand? So I don't remember the brand that it was, but anyway, it was a better brand than the other one. And we bought that one. So $359 for the family there. And I think we gave other little bit of cash as tradition. So this was a one-off thing, $350 for the family. Moving on down to health and fitness, so some supplements were $31. Dog bought some ginseng for herself. Electricity bills, so this has gone up since last month, and I do expect it to continue to go up. We're using the air cons more. It's stifling, absolutely stifling hot here. We usually use fans. We do sleep with the air con, and certain parts of the day, in the afternoon, like right now, we put it on because it's really crazy hot. Don't be surprised if this reaches $100 a month later in the year. Cleaning supplies for the house, $67. Internet, $23 for the month. Kitchen supplies, this is mostly propane gas, $27. So mobile phone was $27. So I'm paying for 3 people's phones, my wife, myself, and my sister-in-law. Paid help, this is my sister-in-law who lives with us. She works, basically manages and takes care of the house. She cleans the house, she cooks if she has to, and she lives with us. So I pay her $215 a month. She's indispensable. Unfortunately, her kid comes along with it. She gives us a lot of freedom. So it's a relatively small cost for a lot of freedom, and it's a win-win situation. And this is more money than she would make if she would have to get a job, slaving at a restaurant. So this was another bit of a surprise. We had to repair the water pump. We had a problem where we weren't getting water, and then we found out, I think there was a leak that we also had. So that was a double whammy. So we had someone fix that, and it looks like it resolved the problem. We still have an issue with water that we're not getting in from the city. And so we did have to pay to have a private company bring in water to fill our tanks, which was $30. So normally water should be about $5 or $6 a month. And then the extra water we had to bring in, import, to fill our 3,000 liters of tank was $31. But hopefully this will also come down next month. Medical and pharmacy. So my wife had an accident last first day of New Year's in visiting her family. Her and her sister went out on a motorbike. And we're in rural Laos. So I wasn't with her. I was home, I was working on something, and her mom comes screaming at me on the phone. I don't know what she's saying. I can't understand what she's saying. She was going hysterical. She was screaming at me, "You got to go get Da. You got to go get Da." Came back, she handed me the phone. It was Da. Her and her sister were sitting under a tree with the motorbike laying next door, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I jumped in the car, go get her. We bring her back to the local clinic, which is nothing. I mean, they can birth babies or very minor cuts and things like that. So we ended up to drive to the local biggest city, Atapu, to go to the only hospital there. Dogs rocking around everywhere inside the hospital. I mean, you just can't believe it. Long recovery. She's still recovering from it, but she is getting better. So we ended up having an x-ray done there, which and then the doctor fee there, and so we ended up sitting at the house for 2 weeks because she couldn't go anywhere. We took her to a better clinic here, and we had an MRI done, and fortunately no broken bones, no broken tendons, and it was just seriously damaged tissue. And so they gave her some meds. So $304 there. That was another surprise. April was awful. I really hope it gets better from there. Haircut, $3. Spa and massage at the stop in Paxe. We each got a massage therapy from a lady in her hometown who massaged her while she was there. I mean, there was nothing else to do except lay there and melt in the heat. Pet food, so we had food for the stinking cats. $119 there. Ugh. Vaccinations for the dogs. This was another one that's an annual budget. Dog clothing. She bought some secondhand sneakers. So we're getting to the bottom. So this is our travel. This was our trip to Paxe. The fuel alone was $415 round trip. 2 months before this would have been half that. But because the fuel shortage, everything doubled. Even as of this week, this would have been 25% cheaper for the same trip. So very short window period of time, I got screwed with that. But I'm glad the costs are coming down for fuel, but still, this is twice of what it should have been. I contributed toward food when we were there at the house. When I'm around, I pay. They contribute with their own farm food and ducks and vegetables and rice from their field. But if we have to buy something, it's usually coming out of my pocket. That's kind of a tax you have to pay for being a foreigner. Expect it if you are in one of those situations. Just expect it. So 2 nights in a hotel, so $128. So the total trip was $728 really. And then you can see down here in this category, I had to add wedding costs. So for the previous month, this is the $561 I got charged on my card by surprise at last month that I'm really pissed off about. Because this was supposed to have been paid last year. So you could see, I just got pummeled this month. $8,418. So minus the income, $8,367 in cash outflows this month. All the one-off items were, this is my taxes, $580 was the tax preparation, $897 is the subscription to the finance group, $234 is school fees, $728, this was our trip, and then $92 was for the dog vaccinations. All the one-offs came to $5,278. The total expenses minus these one-off, so my running average is $3,148. Still higher than I would like it to be. That's manageable. It's these one-offs that are just absolutely killing me. Monthly average for running costs is $3,222, but the total average for the last 4 months is $7,351. So that's basically an annual total expense of $88,000, and clearly that's got to come down. So that's April. And that's the month that my past finally caught up with me, and a few just outrageous surprises. You know, the good news is my core spending is still in the vicinity where I want it, less than $3,500 a month. You know, that's the lifestyle we're trying to build here in Laos. And that's sustainable month to month. The bad news is the irregular surprises that I had last month. And annual expenses are very real, and they absolutely move the averages when they hit all at one time. So we're only 4 months into the year. That's why my average looks like it's $7,351 a month. Early retirement feels amazing when everything is smooth. But months like this remind you that I have very little margin for error here. Something's got to go right very soon. And the silver lining is the market has rebounded back in March. And that calmed my nerves a little bit. And I still expect the market to do well, even though it'll be bumpy until we get to the end of the year. But this is exactly why I'm tracking these long-term expenses instead of just obsessing over one single month. Even though it does make me nervous, my average just went up, but we still have 8 more months in the year, and I do have some one-offs coming, but hopefully the surprises will be past me. So the experiment continues. And hopefully May is a little less dramatic. I'm optimistically nervous about it after this past month. So until the next month, this is April. This is Troy's Winding Down Chronicles. Thanks for joining me in this update. Let me know what you think. What do you think of all these expenses? Have you ever been hit with a month like this, or you just were totally shocked by so many things? My wife's accident, taxes, back taxes, bills from last year that were missed by not only one, but 2 people. Just really crazy. All right, everybody, take care. God bless and take it slow.